Hello, my name's Bindi Wythes and I work at CPL. I'm here today to talk to you about the NDIS and to help you start preparing for the NDIS's rollout in Queensland. CPL want people with a disability to live their lives with passion. So it's our hope, by helping you prepare for the NDIS, that you will be in the best possible position to do that. First of all, what we're going to talk about today is what is the NDIS and NDIA. We often hear these terms in the media. What do they actually mean? We're going to find out. Secondly, we're going to talk about what will be different for you about receiving services under the NDIS. Also, why you need to start preparing for the NDIS and start thinking about your goals and what you want to do. Finally, we're going to talk about how CPL will assist you to prepare for the NDIS. So what is the NDIS? The National Disability Insurance Scheme is called the NDIS. The NDIS will pay for some of your care and supports into the future. The National Disability Insurance Agency is called the NDIA. It holds the funding for the scheme, employs the planners and carries out the assessments for the scheme. The NDIA implements the NDIS. The NDIS plan will keep changing as the government builds the scheme. There are already 2 NDIA offices in Queensland, one in Brisbane and one in Townsville. The NDIS will not start all over Queensland at once. It's due to commence on the 1st of July 2016 and it will be rolled out over a 3-year period. The NDIS will be bringing all the states and territories across Australia under one disability system. One piece of legislation, one set of access requirements, one set of eligibility criteria and one IT system. It's designed for individual choice and control. It focuses on helping people to be part of their community and find work where possible. There are 3 tiers to the NDIS. The first tier is called Community Awareness. The NDIS is for every Australian. It provides insurance if someone acquires a significant disability. This can be from birth or it can be from later in life if, let's say, someone has a motor vehicle accident or has a stroke and acquires a disability as a result. Tier 2 is called Information, Linkages and Capacity Building. ILC is the short term for that. Anyone who has a disability can approach the NDIA for information about services in their local community. This is separate from individual funding, so there's no money attached. Tier 3 is called Individualised Funding Package. This tier is for people with a disability who have ongoing support needs and are eligible for a disability funding package. Traditionally, what would happen is the government would give disability service providers funding to provide certain supports. There would be guidelines and restrictions about what services could actually deliver. The services would develop the programs and then offer those to people with disabilities. Under the NDIS, this totally changes. The NDIA will carry out assessments and find out what the goals and dreams are of people with disabilities. They will then allocate funding accordingly. Then it's up to the person with a disability and their family to then go to the community, see what services are available and then make decisions as to where they would like to spend their funding. To be eligible for individual support under the scheme, you need to be under 65 years of age, an Australian citizen or a permanent resident, and you must live in a launch area and meet the specific requirements for that area during the first stage of the scheme. For example, in Tasmania, they've rolled out the scheme for 14 to 25-year-olds. In order to be eligible for the NDIS, you need to meet the following requirements. You need to have a permanent impairment as a result of your disability, and then one of the following. You can't join in activities or do things without assistive technology, equipment, or home modifications, or you usually require help from others to join in or do things. We're going to talk about eligibility and children now. Your child might be eligible for support under the NDIS if they have a disability that's likely to be permanent, or they have a developmental delay. You also need to have evidence that shows that if your child gets early intervention now, that they and you will need less help into the future. For example, you could show that by investing in speech therapy now, your child will be better able to communicate with other people into the future. If you get onto the NDIS website, you can check to see whether you are able to access the NDIS. It's well worth doing this because you can also see what areas it's currently being delivered in and the eligibility requirements you need to meet in order to access the NDIS. The NDIS pays for different supports for different people. It's dependent on your goals. The supports must help you to be more independent, for example, changes to your car or home. Also to join in the community, for example, getting a job or joining a group. So what will the NDIS pay for? It'll pay for the services you need, for example, transport. People not currently covered by this scheme receive the mobility allowance. Once you're under the NDIS, you will no longer receive this. You'll be allocated funding to pay for things like getting taxis so you can go to work or volunteer work or therapy appointments. You can also use your funding for support workers to assist you in the home for things like making a meal or doing washing. Finally, you can also use it to pay for things like therapy, so seeing a speech therapist, physiotherapist, occupational therapist. The funding might also be allocated to things like aids and equipment. You need to be aware that two people who seem to have the same level of disability will not receive the same level of funding under the NDIS. It all relates back to your goals and how you plan to achieve them. That will determine the level of funding that you receive. The NDIS pays for reasonable and necessary supports. Reasonable means something that is fair. Necessary means something that you must have. The NDIS will not pay for things that are not related to your disability. It will not cover things that everyone else in the community is responsible for paying for themselves. For example, food, electricity and movie tickets. They're not covered by the NDIS. At CPL, we recognise the importance of that meeting you have with the NDIA planner. It will determine how much funding you receive and what you're able to do. We're going to work hard with you over the next 12 months to make sure you get the best outcome possible for you. We're also going to discuss with you what services you currently receive and what you want to receive in the future. For example, if you have a goal that you want to increase your strength and mobility, we'd suggest you talk with a physiotherapist and look at how many sessions you might need to achieve that goal and what it will actually cost you. We're also going to work with you and practice the conversation you're going to have with your NDIA planner to explain what services and supports you want in the future. On the CPL website, you'll find a range of resources relating to NDIS. One of those is the NDIS Planning Workbook. The NDIS Planning Workbook is a great resource and it helps you to start thinking about your needs and goals. It's recommended you complete this before you go to your meeting with your NDIA planner. We're going to talk about now how to manage your plan. You've got lots of different options as to how you can do this. You can choose to manage your plan yourself, or you might want to have someone you trust do this for you on your behalf. So this could be a parent, it could be a brother or sister, it could be a friend. You could also choose a registered plan management provider, or ask the NDIA to manage your plan for you. You may choose to use a combination of those options. As you can see, there is a lot of flexibility and it's up to you to decide. So what do you need to do to get ready for the NDIS? You need to think about what you want to do. Know what funding you get now, plan ways to achieve your goals, and talk to your CPL staff and ask lots of questions so you can understand your current services. In Queensland, people have the option of self-directing their funding now. This is via the Queensland Government's initiative to help people prepare for the NDIS. It's called Your Life, Your Choice. CPL's My Life Consultancy is an endorsed Your Life, Your Choice host provider. So how do you stay up to date with what's happening with the NDIS? Things keep changing. Don't worry, you can get onto CPL's website and also the NDIS website and find out what's happening. If you'd like to find out more information or to give us feedback, you can do so through the following channels.